Welcome to National Resource and Training Services Private Investigation Seminar. Today's class is Surveillance and Stakeout Techniques. Upon completion of this course, you'll be given an exam. After completing the exam, the results will be reviewed with you and then transmitted back to National Resource and Training Services, where they will then be directed to the state agency responsible for your continuing education requirements. You will also see a link at the end of the exam which you may click to save or print a copy of this course for your personal use. Thank you for using National Resource Training Services Online. Every private investigator should ask themselves these questions. Have you ever lost the car that you were following? Have you ever been discovered watching someone? Have you ever ran out of gas? Have you ever followed the wrong car? Have you ever watched the wrong house? Have you ever watched a house and no one was at home? Have you been pulled over by the police while conducting surveillance or a stakeout? Have you ever fell asleep and the person you were watching left? Has everything gone right and then your camera dies? Every PI can probably answer at least yes to one of these questions. Surveillance: a keeping watch over, superintendence, and oversight. Here are 3 steps to better surveillance and stakeouts. Planning: what you do before you leave. Structure: patterns of operations. Flexibility: the ability to adjust to the situations. Here are 6 things that you should do to plan your next surveillance or stakeout. Number 1, know the purpose of your surveillance. Know the who, what, when, and where. Number 2, gather that information before you leave. Number 3, check all equipment. Make sure you take everything you need and back up batteries. Number 4, format disguises and pretexts. Number 5, work schedules and switch off with other private investigators. And number 6, adjust to the scenarios. Know the purpose of your surveillance. Know the clients' names and the families. What is your goal? What do you need to meet the goals? Who else knows you're involved? Other family members, friends. And know what to expect. Gather as much information as possible before you begin the surveillance or stakeout. Know the names, nicknames, and maiden names of everyone that could be involved. Know where all these people work. Know all the friends, co-workers, and relatives, and know their addresses. You may be able to find your person that you're watching if you lose them by knowing all this information. Know the car or cars that they owned, or ones they ride in with friends, or if they borrow cars. Know all their hobbies. Do they bowl? Do they like softball? Are they into genealogy? This may give you a tip where they may be found if you was to lose them during your surveillance. Where is their favorite restaurants and our pubs? People are creatures of habit, so where do they buy their gas? Find out what they do consistently. Take a few moments before you start to check all of your equipment. Some people think this is overkill, but if you ever forget your camera, or the batteries, or the film, you will know what we're talking about. First off, check your camera equipment. Is it working, and is everything there? Do you have film? Do you have extra film? Are all the batteries charged? Do you have extra batteries? Fill up with gas before you ever start. Do you have a cell phone or a radio? Are they charged? Handheld recorders, notebooks, pens. Make sure you have your disguises, signs, and props, and your pretext story ready. It's a good idea to buy an AC/DC power inverter, and you'll never run out of batteries. Power inverters come in all different sizes. The more equipment you need, the bigger the size. A 200-watt power inverter will run a small camera. You plug this into your cigarette lighter and you have electricity in your car. These can be bought at any camping supply or at Walmart. When using a power inverter, heed to these warnings. This is real electricity, so there is a shock potential. It produces heat. It can drain your battery system on your car, and it can be overloaded, damaging your camera equipment. Here are some typical power requirements. A hi-fi stereo 4-head VCR would need about 40 watts. A CD changer, a mini system, would need about 60 watts. A 9-inch color TV radio cassette combo, 65 watts. A 13-inch color TV, 72 watts. Camcorder, 23 watts. Cellular telephone, 25 watts. A laptop computer, 43 watts. If you want to run more than one or two items at a time, make sure you buy a power inverter of 200 watts or larger. Plan your disguises and pretexts long before you go out on surveillance or stakeouts. Have your pretext planned and detailed. Remember, a private investigator can lie about who they are as long as they do not include real companies or real people. To create the illusion, print fake ID cards, business cards, stationery, use magnetic signs, create hats and shirts of that fake company. Vans are good, use tinted windows. Hanging clothes in your back seat is a great place for you to hide. Have blankets or papers to hide cameras and recording equipment. Planning and mapping out a work schedule is very important. If you have an associate or if you work by yourself, will make a difference in how you work a surveillance or stakeout. If more than one person, what is each person's schedule? How do you make the switch-offs? If one person, how long can they stay without a break? Does it require constant surveillance? When is the best time to watch? How much information do you really need? Refer to your pre-planning notes and goals. And how do you work around your other cases? It's not a perfect world, so be ready to adjust. Adjust from rural to urban, from day to night, moving to stationary, the changing surroundings, from your car to inside a building, seasonal changes, and the weather. In the next few slides, we'll talk about a pattern of operations. Number 1, basic for all surveillances and stakeouts. On following cars, watching a person at a house, watching a person in a public place, and watching a person at a business. Basic for all surveillance. You should develop a scan pattern. Always look from the right to the left, or if you wish, left to right, every time you look at a house or a person or a place. Go from first floor to second floor. Record and note everything. Open windows. Are they papers in the driveway? Toys in the yard? Garbage and when it's picked up? Lights and sounds, different cars in the driveway, different cars that come and go, and all people that you see. Some more basics for all surveillances. Record the times and make entries often into your log. I like to make an entry every 15 minutes into my log and every time something happens. Maintain a log system. It can be a simple notebook and pencil, or use a tape recorder. Record all activities, any cars coming in and out of the neighborhood. If a fire truck passes by, log the time that it went by. If UPS makes a delivery next door, log that. All this helps prove that you were there and may be important later on. Do not park your car facing the object of your surveillance. Your car has a face on the front of it. Park to the side and you will not be noticed as much. Do not smoke or attempt not to smoke. Smoke coming out of the window says someone's in the car, and at night that little red glow definitely gives you away. Do not leave the engine running. The engine running puts out exhaust and once again proves someone's in the car. Following cars is probably the hardest and the most dangerous activity for all private investigators. Here are some rules that you should follow. Never follow too closely. Do not tailgate the car that you're following. Try to use a buffer vehicle. Try to get another car between you and the car that you're following. Your car should not be a Hummer or a bright red or yellow sports car. You would just stand out too much. You cannot break the traffic laws, so occasionally you'll get caught by a traffic light or a stop sign. If you're using two follow vehicles, switch out the lead vehicle from time to time. On multiple lane roads, drive in the opposite lane. This will give the illusion you're not following the car. For nighttime surveillance, study the taillight formation of the car that you're following. It'll help you find it as you go down the road in a lot of traffic. Some more problems you'll have when following cars. Four-way stop signs and traffic lights. You're going to lose a car from time to time because of these stops. Rural, curvy, hilly roads will also be a hard problem in following cars. And remember, you just can't get too close. Heavy traffic also will keep you from staying up close enough to a car to be able to follow it. Some drivers are just very, very fast, and some drivers are very, very slow. Also, you're going to have those suspicious people who will pull off, turn around, and make a lot of turns on you. You getting pulled over by the police when you try to keep up with that car driving too fast. They run you out of gas by going a long distance, and sometimes you just get tired. Watching a person at a house, remember you must set a pattern. First off, look for all signs of activities. Listen for sounds. Make sure they're at home. Look and log the changing light patterns. Plain view is okay. Super strong lens could be an invasion of privacy. If you can see it from the street, you can use your cameras to take the pictures. Your license does not give you permission to trespass. Today's society is concerned with security. Use props and gimmicks, such as throwing a newspaper out in the driveway and later on finding out if someone has picked it up. Watching a person in a public place has become more difficult. Society has changed a lot and public awareness is up. Remember, certain places might be offensive to video or photograph. For example, restrooms or at a funeral. You can use covert camera equipment, but camcorders are accepted part of society. You need to try to blend. Do not act suspicious. Hiding sometime is suspicious. Sometimes you can sit right out in the open with a camcorder and look like part of society. Avoid parking in dark alleys or away from other cars. That makes you stand out. Park right out in the middle with everyone else. Have your pretext ready. Who are you and why are you there? Do you notify police or security? Each situation is different. You make that decision. Even though that you're out on foot, don't forget to continue to log your activities. Watching a person at a business is no different than watching the people at a house or public places. Remember to set patterns and always log all activities. Do you notify security or police? One thing to think about is the security or police may be relatives or friends of the people you're watching. In small towns, quite often, relatives all work in the same place. You may be monitored. Company security cameras may be watching you. Know the shift change schedules and lunch schedules. Remember trespassing rules. You cannot trespass. If in a bar, Everyone knows the regulars. In a restaurant, don't order a big meal. The people you're watching may leave before your meal gets there. If you're a private investigator, you better learn to be flexible. Here's some what-ifs. What if you're discovered while watching someone? Say, for example, someone walks up to your car and says, "I know you're watching me." The first thing that you shouldn't do is leave immediately. This would confirm that maybe you were watching them. If you wait 10 or 15 minutes, this would put doubt in the people's mind that maybe you weren't there watching them. What do you do when you lose a vehicle that you're following? Experts say the first thing you should do is speed up 5 miles an hour and go in the direction of that vehicle for 15 to 20 minutes. Look left and right and see if you can obtain the vehicle again. If you do not find the vehicle, turn around and go back to the point where you lost the vehicle. Wait there 1 hour. Remember, people are creatures of habit. They may just come back through. What if there's not a good location to observe from? You can drive through the neighborhood, for example, a couple of times. If you drive too much, you will become obvious. You can use remote camera equipment. Put a remote camera in a traffic cone, pour out a bag of dirt around it, and sit around the corner and watch. Now, every once in a while, you may lose that traffic cone to the neighborhood kid. What if you're hassled by the police? Remember, the police may know the people in the neighborhood. It could even be their relatives. First thing, you should tell them that you are a private investigator. Show them a copy of your ID. Tell them that you're there working on something else and a false name. And then ask them if it's okay if you remain. If they tell you to leave, I would advise you to leave. What if you've followed the wrong car or watched the wrong person in house? Well, you just got to admit to your mistake. Do not charge your client for that, and go back and do it correctly the next time. What if your camera just didn't work and you didn't get the picture? I know one night a truck pulled between me and the person I was watching, and I didn't get the shot after hours. You just have to put that in your notes and once again be honest. Next time, and you'll probably have to go out again and get that shot. What do you do if you see your client around the area? The first thing you do is to tell them to leave. And if they will not leave, then you should leave. Private investigators have to practice and learn to set patterns. And unfortunately, good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. Move to the next slide now and take the final exam.